What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Emily Blunt film, The Girl on the Train. I do want to apologize for the fact that this review is a week late. I was out of town last weekend and was unable to get this review up, even though I did see it last weekend. The Girl on the Train stars Emily Blunt in the lead role and is the story of her character who has been recently divorced from a man who has remarried, and she takes a train to and from New York every day to go to work, and on her train ride she drives past the houses that she used to live in, but also the neighborhood, and she begins to feel an attachment to this family that lives in a house a couple houses down from where she used to live, and she sort of creates this own narrative in her mind. But when a tragedy strikes and the woman that lives in that house is murdered, she feels the need to go and attempt to figure out what has been happening and try to solve the issue, because the night of the event that took place, she can't remember anything because she got blackout drunk. So the whole movie is her trying to piece together what she saw that night and to figure out what happened to this girl. Emily Blunt is easily the best part about this movie. She's amazing. She gives a phenomenal performance. She sells every single scene that she is in, and I think that without her, this movie would be exceptionally weak, because I felt that the other performances given in the movie, Rebecca Ferguson and Haley Bennett, both were rather weak. I think in the script, neither one had that much to do, which sort of hurt them as actresses in terms of what they could really give the movie, but it also felt like they weren't fully embracing the film. It didn't feel like they were really giving themselves up to this movie, because there were many scenes that came off very lackluster from them. It came off like they were not even really trying. In terms of the male actors, Justin Theroux, Luke Evans, and Edgar Ramirez, I thought all three of them did a good job. None of them really have a massive part to play in the movie. I thought that Justin Theroux probably did the best job. I think his character also has the most to do of the three of them. Edgar Ramirez's character feels very tacked on to the film and pretty unnecessary, really. The story is pretty interesting. I think that the movie does have some interesting twists and turns, and at times it does actually surprise you. But this movie is based off of a book, and I feel that as a book, this story would work so much better, by leaps and bounds, because this film is reliant on very few characters to sell this story to us. In a book, you can invest time in 10 or 20 characters to where we feel like they are integral to the story, where in this film we get maybe 7 or 8 characters that actually matter to the story being told, and because of that, there's a point about 2/3 of the way through the movie where the ending is basically entirely spoiled by one line. And I'm not going to spoil the ending or the line or anything like that, but once this line is uttered, you immediately know how the rest of the film is going to play out. And part of that is to blame on the trailers, but even without the trailers, I think that that line would give away the ending part of this film pretty blatantly. Even with that, the biggest issue easily with this film is how convoluted it is. There is so much going on in this movie. The timeline of this film is extremely important to the story, but the way it's portrayed in the film is very confusing. We'll get flashbacks to a week previous or years previous, but the movie never notifies us when we go back to modern times, or I guess I should say present time in the film, which is hard because all of the characters look exactly the same in this movie. They don't do any aging to them because they're never going back far enough in time to where they would look any younger. But because of that, these scenes that take place in the past are really hard to interpret sometimes because it never gives you that cutaway to say you're back to the present day. And as I said previously, Edgar Ramirez's character feels unnecessary in the film. I feel in the book his character probably had much more to do and was much more important to the story, but there's just little things like Edgar Ramirez's character or the police character or Emily Blunt's character's roommate where they're involved in the film, but they're involved in such a minute way and they affect the end result or general story in such a small way that it feels like they weren't necessary, but because they were in the book, they were put in the film, which is why I've never read this book, but I feel if I did, I would much more enjoy the book than this film. I'm gonna give The Girl on the Train a C+. I think in the format of a book, this would work really well. The suspense would build, you'd be invested in these characters, but with how convoluted the story is in this film, I never got that attached to anyone other than Emily Blunt, and I never became suspicious enough to really feel any suspense. I felt that the movie was going in between present and flashbacks, and showing us all these different characters that didn't play much of a part in the movie, and in reality it all sort of just dissipated any suspense that would have been building. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of The Girl on the Train, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, look out for my Halloween Netflix special video on Sunday, and I hope to see you guys later.